Hey, this is Chad with Drawn and Cornered. It is November 15th, 2021, and here's the news that you need for the day. First off, we're going to start with Steve Bannon's indictment for contempt of Congress. They are going to send somebody in. I think he's going to come out and put himself in custody today for that contempt charge. But this is important for a couple of different reasons. One, Democrats think this is a massive win because this is how Trump and his cronies are going to go down. They finally got him. He's in their crosshairs. But let's be very, very clear about what the Democrats have done here and why this is actually not the win that they think it is. In previous administrations, specifically Obama's, we had a couple of these similar type of things. Eric Holder refused to release documents for Fast and Furious. They claimed executive privilege and things like this, but didn't release those documents. Congress held them in contempt. But never was there a point where they went for the indictment. Never was the point where they went for criminal charges on top of that. It just didn't happen. It's sort of one of those things that each administration says, we're just going to get this under the rug. We're going to move on. This is the Gerald Ford and Richard Nixon just get through this and move the country forward type of thing. It also happened in the Obama administration with Lois Lerner, held in contempt because she wouldn't talk about the IRS scandal in front of Congress, in front of the committee on that. Held her in contempt, never charged her, never went after her. Came to Trump's DOJ and they said the same thing, like, let's just get beyond it, let's move beyond it. It's sort of been a courtesy passed down because governance is so messy and so ugly and so awful that each team kind of says, hey, I won't cut your throat if you don't cut our throat. Well, Biden changed that. Biden says, I'm going to cut your throat. I'm going to do this. And what this means is that next year after the midterms, when it seems, based on right now, everything is leaning the Republicans' way, you're going to start seeing this flip. And Democrats are going to start reaping what they've sown. And this is the same thing that Mitch McConnell said when it came to the filibuster for congressional approval of judge nominations. And he said, don't do this. If you do this, you're going to be very upset and unhappy about it. When it came around and that finally came to SCOTUS nominees or Supreme Court nominees, McConnell took that away as well, added that to the mix so there was no longer a filibuster there, and pushed through a bunch of candidates because of that change. And it hit the Democrats hard. This is going to be the exact same sort of thing. They think they've nailed Steve Bannon, Mark Meadows. They're going to get Trump. But what they've actually done is just open themselves up to any sort of future administration coming back and saying, no, we're taking everybody. And everybody's going to have to be here and talk in front of us. There will be no mercy for anybody who chooses not to speak in front of a committee of the opposition party. It's just witch hunts galore are going to be happening from this point on out. And there will really be nothing to stop it because in this gang warfare, you got to put bodies in the ground. That's the only way to win. The next thing that we want to talk about is an article that came out that talks about the pressure applied to the CDC in the early stages of coronavirus. Again, claiming a massive win, like finally we're holding Trump's feet to the fire for the 700,000+ deaths of coronavirus and COVID that are out there. We're doing awful things with the CDC and denying information, filtering information, looking for different things to be released and accepted as far as the public stance that the CDC was taking. Again, this isn't the win you think it is. If we want to start talking about pressure put on the CDC, I want to start talking about masking requirements. And after vaccines, when the CDC put out their wording about where you have to wear masks and how you have to wear masks, and almost immediately flipped that when political pressure became too heavy, that ended up coming from the White House. We don't have specifics on it because, again, a follow-up administration hasn't been digging into this, but it's going to happen. We also had the school requirements. CDC came out and said school is essentially safe for people with COVID. The teachers' unions got in touch with the White House and said, hey, we're not fans of this. White House gets in touch with the CDC. Those requirements get changed a week later. It's plain as day. Of course, the CDC is a political body. Of course, there's pressure from the White House on that political body. To deny it at this point is just absurd. You're going to open yourself up to this. The notion of courtesy from previous administrations to following administrations or vice versa is gone. Anytime we have a changeover, expect a ton of this stuff to start coming out. The other story you need to hear is the climate conference is finally shutting down. This massive climate conference that everybody flew into on private jets. Great things are happening. We're changing the world. except now we're getting down to the brass tacks and actually signing things and putting agreements in place. None of them with any teeth, but finally having to sign on the dotted line. And nobody is satisfied with what's happening here. It's going to have absolutely no change. It looks like we're still headed for 2.5 degrees Celsius based off of 1900 pre-industrial level temperatures. So we've already taken up a lot of that distance. I think I want to say it's 1 or 1.5 that we've already covered in that. So it's basically just another degree in there at some point. This is doing nothing. To give you a for instance here, Britain is really toiling about this goal of theirs. Britain will reduce its levels of emissions by 68% in 2030 compared to 1990 levels. You heard that right. Not 68% from today, not 68% from when we're signing, but 68% from 1990 levels. If you feel like there's been no progress in the past 30 years, then maybe that makes sense. But of course there has. There's been massive amounts of progress. The way that we do everything when it comes to energy and emissions has changed in 30 years. There's tons more capability to reduce those things. So hitting that 68%, it doesn't mean anything given today's metrics. It's totally fictitious. It's none of these numbers are accurate. None of these numbers are real. It's all made up off of historical changes, the things that we've already baked into the cake so that they can seem as though they're making these great advancements. All of this is a ruse, and it's all a ruse for you. It's a ruse to try and prove that they deserve more money and more control over you. We cannot allow that to happen. It's a complete fabrication. They are lying straight to your face about what they're looking to accomplish, the impacts of what they don't accomplish it, and what they're going to need to make that happen. It's complete garbage across the board. The last thing that we need to talk about, just because it's going to be coming down in the next couple of days, possibly even today if it goes really fast, we've got verdicts coming in the Rittenhouse case, which was followed by everybody. I mean, this was wall to wall on all the news coverages, and everybody's been talking about it, and you've got every minute detail covered when it comes to Rittenhouse, including the ringtone on the judge's phone. I mean, just super, super in depth. The case they're not covering is Ahmaud Arbery's. And I'll tell you why this is happening. Rittenhouse is going to be a not guilty verdict. Ahmaud Arbery is going to have guilty verdicts. The three guys that chased down and killed Ahmaud Arbery are going to jail for murder. One of them, perhaps for the rest of his life. That case is an example of justice being served in America. That case, which is built around racism, is an example of America doing the right thing by the victim, is a case of exactly what you want to have happen in America, and to show that we have moved beyond racism in Alabama, doing exactly what it's supposed to do. That should embolden and encourage everybody as to the trajectory that America has taken and as to how far we've come in race relations and the ability to hold people accountable for racist and intolerable actions. That is going to go the way we want it to go. Rittenhouse, I would argue, is going the way we want it to go, but they're going to try and make the case that the only reason it's going that way is because he's white. And the only reason it's going to go that way even further is because he's a white supremacist. The president said it himself. Rittenhouse should be making bank off of all of these media agencies, all of these newspapers, all of these television commentators, the president himself, current president, he was a candidate at the time, talking about his white supremacy and the motives he had for murdering people in Kenosha. That case, because they know it's going to go to not guilty, they're going to try and make that into something that is not, which is a racist, white supremacist type action. The media is goading the public, and especially the misinformed public, because they don't know anything about this case, into thinking that there was a miscarriage of justice here and not that justice was carried out. They're trying to get problems built, because if problems build, if Kenosha blows up in flames again, that helps their coverage. That makes their commentary worthwhile. That makes the outrage machine spin up in full motion. If they told you what everybody should have been telling you, is that Rittenhouse is actually a pretty solid self-defense case, and really anything other than a not guilty is what's unexpected, you wouldn't be outraged. You wouldn't go into the streets demanding that justice be served against Kyle Rittenhouse. You would say, oh, that's what we wanted. which is why they're not doing it in the Arbery case, because the Arbery case is going to go the way that they all expect it to go. There is no case to be made for outrage when they convict these three guys with the guilty verdicts, which is going to happen. No outrage there. But with Rittenhouse, they can foment it. They can push it. They can make you upset about a verdict that was set in stone a year and a half ago. And that is the most insidious thing about this entire story. Thank you very much for watching. That is our news for the day. If you have any questions, comments, critiques, leave those comments down below. I will try to get answers out to everybody out there. If you want to see this type of thing with a little bit of news, a little bit of analysis every day, small little morsels so that you can get it in, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell so you get notifications Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday when we release episodes. And if you have anything else beyond that, definitely check out the comments, check out the Facebook page. See us anywhere you like. We're also over on Twitter, releasing some really quippy, great things every day. Thanks again for watching. This is Chad with Drawn and Cornered, and I will see you again tomorrow.